Wife SAT at home with her friends. We've decided it's time to divorce you, she said as they smirked. I asked, so none of you care she's been seeing your husbands? She did it at Mark and Gina's place right when everyone drifted from the backyard grill to the kitchen island. Gina cracked a joke about married math and my wife Tara tapped her glass with a fork and announced loud and clean, we don't do equal in our house. Jason tries, but I run the real decisions. She held the smile like a headline. I set my beard down. If that's the case, I told the room, then I'll stop pretending to fix the sink tomorrow. You can approve that decision too. Light laughter popped around the island. Tara rolled her eyes, went for another cut. See? He gets defensive. It's cute for like a minute. If I'd known where that line was headed, I wouldn't have bothered with the sink or the joke. I didn't fight her there. I just took the empty serving tray, carried it to the counter, and finished cleaning while she held court with her friends. On the way home, she stared out the passenger window like the dark was more interesting than anything I might say. I didn't feel the silence. Back at our house, lights low, she kicked off her heels and reached for her phone. We're talking, I told her. She didn't look up. About what? About you doing stand-up at our expense? She scrolled. It was a bit. You're too serious. You framed our marriage as a one-way street. You know what, Jason? That's how it works anyway. I leaned against the doorway. That's not how it's going to work. She finally looked up. Or what? I kept my voice flat. Or I changed the schedule, the spending, and the access to me. Content, calendar, all of it. Rude in public buys distance at home. That's the rule. She laughed once. Short. Scary. You'll live. I pointed at the dishwasher. Tomorrow's yours. She set her phone down slow. You're mad. So, you're delegating chores? Come on. I'm not mad. I'm adjusting. You like the microphone with an audience. I like clarity. We'll start there. She walked past me without a word, bumped my shoulder like I was in the way. Bedroom door closed. I stayed in the hall and listened to the dial tone of the new rule. Equal or separate. She'd test it. Of course, I was ready. The next morning, she moved through the kitchen with that chilly efficiency women learn from magazines and certain friends who love giving advice. She left a cup in the sink without water, like a placeholder for someone who'd fix it. Your turn, I reminded her. She kept moving. I've got an early meeting. Me too. She paused and flashed the thin smile. You'll be fine. Then we're separate, I replied. I pulled the dishwasher open, stacked my plate, ran it, and set my mug to dry. I took my laptop bag, locked my office door behind me, and texted Mark. Need to swing by before work. 10 minutes. He thumbs up. Tara noticed the locked door when she came back for her keys. She rattled the knob. What is this boundary? I said, work calls are quiet again. She stared like it should embarrass me. It didn't. She left. I hit Mark's garage on the way to my job. Mark's a warehouse manager who speaks in inventory terms, even about life. You going to log what happened last night? He asked, tossing me a rag. I'm not writing a complaint, I said. I'm writing a policy. Next time she turns it into a stage, I pull the plug on the show. Meaning, separate schedules, separate rides, separate plans. No more handing her my calendar to beat me with. He nodded. Control distribution. I like it. We bumped fists and I drove to the office with a clean head. The first week, she shifted colder little things. She stopped answering texts about dinner and started coming home late with no details. When I asked what was up, she went minimalist. Out with the girls. Which girls? You don't know everyone. I know enough to miss a name. She shrugged. This became her favorite posture. Shoulders up, chin tilted, phone face down. At night, she lay there like a roommate who'd missed her rent again. By Friday, I put it plain. The kitchen clock ticked loud between us. I'm not running after you, I told her. If you want distance, take it honestly. She snorted. There it is. The plea. Classic. That wasn't a plea. So, what then? Terms. I slid a notepad across the counter. I'm setting my gym hours early. I'll be home by 6 o'clock if there's a plan. If there isn't, I'll eat with friends. I'm splitting our shared account into bills and everything else. Your late nights aren't my expense. She folded her arms. You're dramatic. I'm organized. She pushed the notepad back with one finger. Do your little systems. I'm not asking permission. I didn't offer it. I went to the garage and pulled down a cooler. That weekend, I fished the coast with Dave and Louise. I didn't text updates. I sent one message Sunday night back by 9 o'clock. She read it and left me on read. Monday, she amped the sarcasm. She took calls at the dinner table and laughed at lines I couldn't hear. When I asked who it was, she gave me the teacher voice. Don't interrogate me. I asked a normal question and I passed. She grabbed her purse. I'm going out with her smile sharpened with people who don't need a roster. Enjoy. I went to the freezer and pulled frozen pizza. I don't do hunger as a principle. She stepped closer. You're not even curious. She prodded. I'm specific. If you want me to know, you'll say it. If you don't, I'll spend my attention wisely. She rolled her eyes and left. I locked the door behind her. That sound felt like a line drawn with a marker. Later that week at Gina's again, Tara did the same routine. New twist. You know what Jason's good at? She asked the circle. Trying. He's got those Boy Scout vibes. Always trying to fix things. Adorable. Gina laughed too loud, then glanced at me. She knows me longer than Tara does. You good? She asked. I took a sip of water and set the glass down slow. I'm great, I told the table. From today on, if anyone builds jokes with my name, they get silence from me at home. I charge for material. A little hush followed. Gina's husband raised his hands like, not me. Tara flashed teeth. That a threat? She poked. No pricing, I said and stood. Gina, thanks for dinner. I shook Mark's hand, clapped his shoulder. See you on Thursday. On the drive back, Tara turned the music up like that solved anything. At the house, she cut the engine and finally faced me. You can't embarrass me in front of my friends, she snapped. You did the warm-up. I did the closer, I answered. I told you once. Next time, I act. No warning. This was the warning. She glared. You think this is winning? I think it's respect. She stormed inside. I spent an hour in the garage tuning the mower and letting that sentence settle into the studs. Next morning, a softer move from her. She brewed coffee and set a mug by my laptop. We got off track, she said. True. I'm stressed. Works a lot. I didn't mean to be harsh. I don't care about the reason, Tara. Only the behavior. She nodded like she'd been told that line in another context. Okay, she said and came around the table to rub my shoulders. Can we reset? For now, I allowed. Same rules. She kissed my cheek and laughed at a small joke I made about my boss. For a full day, she played nice. She sent me a picture of a sandwich she made and a note. Saved you half. I texted a thumbs up. That night, she said she was meeting 2 of her friends at a wine bar. Not late, she added. Promise. Text me when you're on the way back. Sure. She left at 7 o'clock, came back at 2 o'clock. No text. Her heels in the hallway sounded like a cheap alarm. I checked the time and went to the door. You break promises fast, I told her. Clocked at 7 hours. She dropped her purse. Don't start. Start what? Accounting. We already split the ledger. She walked to the sink and ran water like she needed the noise to argue. My phone died. Then the streetlights charged it. I said, you scrolled on the porch for 5 minutes. She looked over her shoulder. You're keeping watch. I live here. Stop being controlling. I'm being accurate. She went to bed. I didn't follow. I sat at the table and made a new list. Plans I would no longer support. Places I would no longer go because I refused to be a prop. When the sun came up, my mood didn't need coffee. At work, I took my lunch outside with Dave, who speaks like a coach who retired early. He listened and shook his head. She's pushing frames, he said. If you don't set one, she will. I set one, I answered. She's testing hinges. He chewed. What's the goal on her side? Power? Maybe exit with leverage. He shrugged. Then stop funding the games. If she wants out, she can file. If she wants respect, she can act like it. I'm done talking, I told him. Next is action. That night, another late one from her. No text, just a breezy, hey at midnight and the smell of a perfume I didn't buy. She kept her phone glued to her palm like a passport. You hiding something you'd be proud of? I asked. She slipped past me. Go to bed, Jason. I did, I said. I woke up for the new roommate. She rolled her eyes. Jealousy is ugly. Disrespect is uglier. She took the guest blanket to the couch like a martyr in a silent film. Fine by me. I slept. Next afternoon, I called a guy named Harris, recommended by Mark's cousin. Harris is the kind of private eye who speaks in receipts, not theories. I sat across from him at a diner he chose, and he slid me a small list of deliverables, where she goes, who she meets, when, he summarized. No commentary, just data. Perfect, I answered. I don't need adjectives. Let me pause the story for just a second. If you're still listening, please hit the like button on this video. It really helps YouTube show this story to more people. Thank you so much for the support. Now, let's get back to the story. Back home, I went operational. I moved the important files out of the home office into a locked banker's box. I put a second garage door opener in my truck and got a new gym key. I sent Tara a short text. Working late tonight. Don't wait up. I wasn't working late. I was taking my time. Her reply came fast. Okay. No smiley, no question. Just okay. That told me what I needed. 2 days in, Harris sent a brief update. Patterns forming, he wrote. Full report soon. I kept my routines tight and my mouth shut. Tara tried another soft pivot. She packed me a lunch and left a post-it on the container. Sorry for last weekend. I put the meal in the fridge at work for whoever wanted it. I texted her a simple thanks. No more. 3 days later, Harris called at 7 a.m. ready. Go. He did. Steady and clean. Names, places, times. Not one gentleman, but several rotating. And the twist that hit me in the chest, but didn't keep me from breathing. The men were familiar. Husbands of her closest friends, a different one for each late night. No public displays, all quiet corners, photos, receipts. I listened without interrupting. When he finished, I said, "Email the package to my attorney. I don't want it on my phone. You have counsel already, calling in 10 minutes. He whistled. "You keep the blade sharp." "I keep it away from my hand," I said. I drove to a small office above a barber shop where a guy named Nolan works. Nolan doesn't talk like a lawyer. He talks like a mechanic. "We'll keep it clean," he said. "No fireworks. Paper signatures. Done. If you show your hand too early, she'll blast your image with her friends. You let me do the paperwork. You disappear for a couple weeks. You come back with the folder. Ground is yours. I don't want to breathe the same air with her in the meantime." I told him then don't. He slid a checklist across the desk. "You'll need a practical cover. Work trip." I said 2 to 3 weeks. "I'll book a place across town." "She doesn't need the address." "Good." He said, "Drop the detective's file here. Leave with nothing." He looked at me. "You sure about not confronting?" "More than sure," I answered. "I'm done giving speeches." He nodded. "We'll call when it's ready." I drove to a small rental in a different neighborhood, paid month to month, and called Dave and Luis. I told them what I knew. It got quiet. Dave swore under his breath, and then caught himself. "You made the right call." Luis, who rarely speaks loud, said, "You can crash with me if you need backup." "I'm fine," I told them, "but I appreciate it. Come by Friday. I want to play cards and not think." "Bring the long stories," Dave said. "We'll roast each other like the old days." At the rental, I set up a simple life. Air mattress the first night, then a proper bed, a folding table, 2 chairs, a pan, a coffee maker, work, gym, home, quiet. I slept like the air had less gravity. The next weekend, the guys came over. We grilled on a small patio and laughed about dumb things men talk about when they don't need to impress anyone. I told them everything. Names, places, the rotation. Their faces went from shock to calculation. Mark dropped by the Sunday after. He leaned in the doorway, arms folded. "You handling this too calmly," he said. "I already felt everything," I replied. "Now I'm doing." "You going to tell Gina?" "No, I'm not the town crier. They'll learn what they need to when they need to." He exhaled. "You always were the guy who did the boring right thing." "It pays better," I said. 2.5 weeks in, Nolan called. "Folder's ready," he said. "You can pick up this afternoon." I grabbed it at 4 o'clock. Plain Manila. No drama. I texted Tara back home tonight. "Early, we can talk." She replied in under a minute. Finally, I felt nothing about that word. On the drive across town, I noticed the sun hitting the tops of the maples along our street. I parked in the driveway, took the folder, and walked in. They were already sitting in the kitchen. Tara at the head of the table. Her friends ranked like a panel. Gina looked tight. The others looked pleased with themselves. Coffee cups, water glasses, phones face down like coasters. Tara gestured at a chair. "Sit." I set the folder on the counter and pulled out the chair slowly. "What's this? A book club?" Silence from the left side. I watched eyes flick around each other. The way people do when they rehearse lines and don't want to be first. Tara straightened. "We've talked," she began. "All of us. We agree. It's time. This isn't working." "Which part?" I asked. "The marriage or the speech you practiced?" She pushed past it. "We're done, Jason. You can either sign a fair split or we can make it harder." Gina didn't nod with the others. She studied the table. "We?" I asked. I scanned the row slow. "That's interesting wording because if we're taking votes, I've got a question for the panel." I looked each one in the eyes. "Any of you opposed to your husbands being Thursday night fun with my wife?" The room slashed from smug to still. I let the words sit. I shot sideways. Gina's jaw moved once and stopped. Tara's face lost color without drama. I reached into the folder, pulled out a thinner envelope, and slid printed photos onto the table like a dealer. No commentary, no pointing. The images met the light. Gina grabbed one, looked and pushed back from the table so hard her chair legs scraped the tile. The woman to Tara's right, Jin, blinked fast. Another friend muttered something that didn't finish. I leaned back. "Just trying to calibrate," I said. "Your ethics seemed loud a minute ago." Tara's voice came out small. "You're twisting." "No, I'm filing," I answered. I placed the divorce packet on top of the photos. "This is clean. You sign. I sign. We're done. You're not taking a dime that belongs to me. And you're leaving tonight." The kitchen erupted. Not at me, at Tara. A choir of questions, accusations, denials, crosstalk turning into shouts. I watched like I'd bought tickets. Gina pointed at Tara's phone, demanded it. Another friend insisted, "There must be an explanation," then saw a photo that removed explanations from the menu. Tara tried words like mistakes and complicated and not what it looks like. Those words failed like umbrellas in a windstorm. I didn't move. I let the storm blow. When the volume peaked, I stood. I'll be upstairs. I told no one. You all hash out your sisterhood code. Upstairs, I grabbed Tara's suitcases from the closet and set them on the bed. I packed fast and clean clothes, shoes, makeup case, 3 framed photos face down in a bubble wrap because I'm not a vandal. I grabbed her spare keys, tossed them in. I carried the cases to the top of the stairs and waited for a lull. When I stepped onto the first floor landing, the air in the kitchen had moved from attack to stunned silence. The women had their phones out, texting their husbands or not texting them, burning holes in screens. Tara sat with her head in her hands. She didn't look at me. I'm not your stage, I told her. Not your audience. Not your safety net. I opened the front door, rolled her suitcases out onto the porch, and clicked the handle. You're leaving. You don't come back. You don't call. You don't send people. House is mine. She stayed seated. Please, she managed. We can talk. You already held your talk with a jury that didn't do its research. I replied, we're done. Gina stood up shaky and grabbed her purse. I need to go, she said to no one. She moved past me like I was furniture and out the door. One by one, the others followed. But not before each gave Tara a look she'll remember longer than anything I could say. The last one paused. You're cruel, she told me. No, I said. I'm finished. She left. Tara was alone at the table, fingers laced on her temples, staring through the wood. She didn't cry. I don't think she had tears left. The room had drained them. I lifted her suitcase handles and set them upright. She finally looked at me. I have nowhere to go tonight. You had options, I replied. You chose them. Now choose another. Can I at least explain? You did repeatedly in different parking lots. She flinched at that. I messed up. I know, I said, and I'm not your rehab. Doors open. Take your things. She stood slow. I need time. You had it, I answered. You spent it. She took the handles at the doorway. She turned back. You're heartless. No, I corrected. I'm not in your game. I stepped aside. She rolled the cases down the porch steps like the sound might change my mind. It didn't. A rideshare pulled up like she'd called it earlier. She loaded the bags, said something to the driver, and didn't look back. The taillights disappeared at the end of the block. I closed the door and locked it once, then twice. I set the folder on the entry table and exhaled. I went to the garage and stood there for a while with the smell of motor oil and cut grass. Then I texted Nolan. She's out. Papers delivered. Tell me where to sign. His reply came fast. Tomorrow 10 a.m. I poured a glass of water, sat on the back steps, and listened to the quiet neighborhood. I slept in my own bed like a man who'd paid a debt. The next days moved easy. I ate breakfast without an argument schedule. I went to work and did my job. I told my manager I'd finished a home situation and might be taking a couple half days. He shrugged and said, handle your business. Mark swung by with a tool I'd lent him months ago. He set it down and studied my face. You good? I'm better than good. I told him. I'm done. He nodded. Gina hasn't stopped pacing since the other night, he admitted. She's not mad at you. She shouldn't be, I said. I didn't break anything that wasn't cracked. Later that week, Dave and Louise came over. We sat on the patio. The air had that late summer feel with neighbors mowing and kids riding bikes. Dave pushed a deck of cards across the table. So, champion, he said. You plan to re-enter the market? Not this month, I replied. I'm enjoying silence, Louise smirked. Silence is underrated. We played until the mosquitoes suggested we go inside. That night, before I slept, I put a new lock on the side gate and fixed the slow drip under the kitchen sink that I'd left because life had been louder. I stood up, dried my hands, and laughed once at the memory of the original joke. Tara didn't write. Not once. I think she understood the rule. Her friends didn't show up demanding anything. They were busy putting out their own fires. Rumors travel fast in neighborhoods like ours, but I don't feed them. When people asked if everything was okay, I said, better than okay. That was it. The signing at Nolan's took 15 minutes. He flipped pages. I initialed where he pointed. You came prepared, he said. I was done 3 weeks ago, I replied. Good, he said. Keep it boring and you'll keep your peace. I took my copy of the documents, paid his fee and drove a long loop home with the windows cracked. I passed the park where I used to meet Tara for weekend runs and instead of remembering us, I just saw a clean path I might jog alone. That felt less sad than I expected. A month later, paperwork complete. My house looked different without me changing much, just a shift in the air. I bought a used truck from a private seller, cash, because I wanted something that didn't carry old pieces of our life. I added a second fridge in the garage and stocked it with basics. On Fridays, the guys came over. On Sundays, I took my nephew fishing. On weekdays, I cooked simple dinners that didn't require an argument to eat. People ask about happiness like it's a product. Mine is a list of boring victories. I sleep. I train early. I fix what breaks. I don't deal in drama. When I think about Tara, it's not anger. It's inventory. Signals, actions, consequences. She gave her respect to the public moment and the private rotation she thought no one saw. I gave my respect to the man in my mirror. 2 months after the last page got stamped, I ran into Gina at the grocery store. She looked tired, that human tired that follows a long personal audit. She put her card against the carrots and faced me. "I owe you a thank you," she said. "For what?" "For not dragging me into anything. For not making it a content piece." "I don't do content," I said. "I do decisions." Her mouth twitched. "We're sorting things out." She said, "It's not pretty, but it's honest." "Honest is ugly before it's clean," I answered. She nodded and left with a small wave. I watched her go, then went back to picking avocados like a grown man who cares about ripeness, not applause. A while later, I got an invite to a minor league game from a woman in my building. Her name's Brooke. She lives 2 floors up. She talks about her dad's workshop when she's nervous. I said yes because it sounded normal. We ate hot dogs and made fun of the terrible outfielding like 2 strangers who might be friends. She didn't ask about my past. I didn't offer it. I walked her to her car and said, "This was good." She said, "Yeah," and left it. I like that. I'm not shopping for a fairy tale. I'm building a quiet, solid life that doesn't need props. The story people want, me crawling back or storming her phone, didn't happen. The end of my marriage fit in a folder in a set of suitcases on a porch. Clean. Cold, if you like that word. Effective if you like truth. If you're listening for some forgiveness speech, take it from me. You can forgive on your feet and keep walking. You can look at someone who treated you like a lower shelf and say no and then act like it. That's not rage. That's clarity. The last time I saw Tara was in a gas station parking lot weeks back. She got out of a rideshare, saw me by the pump, and froze like she'd been caught skipping class. She opened her mouth, closed it, then walked over with that old confidence. "Thinner now." "Jason," she said, "can we talk for a minute?" "You can talk," I replied. "I'll listen for one." "It wasn't what you think," she started, then stopped when she realized how many times she'd already used that phrase. "I'm getting help," she said instead. "I'm trying. I hope it works," I answered. "For you." She searched my face for a soft spot. "You were good to me," she tried. "I was good to us," I corrected. "You chose you." She looked down at her shoes. "I missed the house," she admitted. "You missed the platform," I said. "Not the person," she flinched. "You don't have to be cruel." "This isn't cruel," I told her. "This is the tone you get when respect is the currency and you paid with jokes." I finished pumping, screwed the cap, and stepped back. "Take care, Tara." "That's it?" she asked. "That's the point," I said, and got in my truck. She stood there with the wind lifting her hair like it wanted to make that moment look better than it was. It wasn't. I drove home, parked, and carried a bag of groceries inside. I made dinner and ate on the back steps, watching the same maples that were green the day I came back with the folder. They don't change for drama. They change when it's time. I live better now. I've got my house, my truck, my friends on Fridays, a workshop slowly filling with tools I promised myself for years and never bought. Some weekends I invite the guys over for ribs. Some weekends I lock the gate and read in the garage while the dog from next door patrols his fence like he owns the block. Work steady. My manager gave me a new project because I stopped bringing static to the office. As for Tara, I hear through a neighbor that she moved into a small place a few miles away. The same neighbor said some of those husbands moved out of their homes or moved into guest rooms. That's all the news I need. I don't gloat. I don't scroll their lives. I don't check timelines. I keep mine. If there's a lesson, it's this. Men waste years trying to get back what someone took on purpose. You can't talk someone into respecting you. You set the bar and enforce it quietly if you can, loudly if you must, and when you're done, you're done. You don't hold the door. You close it, you lock it, and you walk to your own kitchen where your own glass waits for your own water. When Tara put on that performance at the Island, she thought I'd play along, smile through it, chase her later, beg for the script to change. I gave her one clean warning and then I did something rare in my generation of men. I acted without drama. I cut access. I set terms. I left for a while. And when I came back, I brought paper and a clock. My final line to her, the one that closed the book, wasn't shouted. It didn't need volume. It needed weight. I stood by the open door while she held the handle of her suitcase and tried one more sentence, baited with guilt. "You're heartless," she said again. "No," I told her. And this time, I smiled because the words fit exact. "I'm just not yours." She left. I stayed. And that was the difference that mattered. Our story has come to an end. If you've made it this far, how about subscribing to our channel? It helps us immensely. I've selected 2 other videos for you that I'm sure you'll enjoy.